Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joe with the Circuit 123, and I am here to talk to you about Linux. Now, before I go on any further, I am going to tell you I am not an expert on Linux. I do know some information about it, as I have installed it and installed some programs using it. However, I am still a very basic Linux user. However, what I will do for you guys, and to bring you guys the most complete and accurate information, I do know a Linux guru, and I'll see what I can do to get him on the show, or my webcast, or whatever you guys want to call it. But for now, what I'm going to talk to you guys about in general is basically general stuff about Linux that I know. What I can tell you about Linux is that it is open source. What that means is that it's free to anyone, and that the code is available to anyone. You can make changes to Linux if you know how. If you're a good programmer, you can make changes to Linux. You can even make your own distribution of Linux. And basically a distribution is the same thing as version. In Linux language, if you ask somebody what distro are you using, you're basically saying what version are you using. If you go to them and you say, yeah, I'm using Ubuntu, somebody else may say, I'm using Canopix. Someone else may say, I'm using God, there's just so many. I'm using Red Hat. You know, these are all different distributions of Linux, and some are more developed than others. Some have better support than others. And basically, in the end, Linux is a very powerful operating system, and that it has a very modern command line interface. And what that means is that you can execute lots of tasks at once, or complete more tasks in a shorter period of time with the Linux's powerful command line interface. Now, from my personal experience in installing Linux, Linux has a very high compatibility rate. There's very few stuff that it doesn't work with, either from a generic standpoint or having the actual driver. That's because it's an open source, a lot more people are able to put out updates much quicker than you would, let's say, a Microsoft operating system. Now, here are some of the caveats. Yes, Linux may be free. Now, a lot of people say Linux is more secure. Well, here's the thing. Linux is more secure because, number one, it's more configurable, so you can make it more secure. However, number two, not that many people use Linux in the wide spectrum of things. 95% of the market is still marketed by Microsoft. Still, major enterprises use their Microsoft for their back-end servers. It costs more money, and here's the caveat. It costs, for the total cost of ownership of running a Linux environment, actually costs more than it does a Microsoft environment. And why? Because usually you have to pay someone more with the experience in Linux than you would with somebody else. Okay, now, you know, let's say, for example, I am a Microsoft network systems administrator for company X, and they are paying me 90 grand a year to run their systems. Okay, the same individual may have to be paid 150 grand. Why? Because they design that system to their, and they're the only ones that know it. Okay, with Microsoft, you get universal support. Alright, and what that means is that anybody can come in and do the job. With Linux, far fewer people have the same skill sets, so that skill is going to be more valuable, and therefore the dollar that people are going to pay is much higher. Linux is great, however it does have its downfalls. It's not there fully yet. Linux is stable. I like it. Like I said, I'm going to bring on a guy who is really Linux savvy, and he will be able to we'll talk good stuff about a good 10 minutes about Linux. But other than that, that's all I can give you guys, really. As far as cloud computing goes, yeah, of course, because it's free, so that's what they're going to build off of first. But other than that, that's all I can really give you as far as Linux is concerned. I don't know that much about it, and I'm not going to plan on pretending I do. Again, this has been Joe at the Circuit 123. I want to thank you and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.